Good morning, everybody. It is Monday morning. It's about 7:30 a.m. and I believe I'm still at Lake Tyers, but I had to leave down the area where I was and at the tavern called the Waterwheel Tavern or Pub. I had a lovely pint of lager there. Thanks, Trev, man. It was a great idea. And I got some footage of around there, but it's not a lot because I had to get out of there. I'd arrived quite late, early evening. It was about 6:30 p.m, something like that. And I knew I needed to peg a camping spot before I did anything else. And so I had that pint. It was probably the quickest pint I've ever drunk in my life. But anyway, I then took off around that area trying to find somewhere stealthy that I could camp out, but unfortunately there were two factors that were affecting that. One of those factors were the hills. The hill going down from the highway down into Lake Tyers towards the end was extremely steep, and so steep that when I got down there I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to get out of that area. So I took off and then I went down some side streets, and my God, the hills down those side streets, people, were even worse than the massive hill coming down, and I kept getting stuck. Like, I'd be going up a hill and I'd realise that, hang on, it's going to get even steeper towards the end. So I would sort of do a U-turn and then roll all the way back down the hill and then go down another side street, and was presented with the same thing again. So eventually what I did after a few hours of doing that, I went past some lookout places and I took a tiny bit of footage there, and then I finally ended up here, which is out of the town proper. This is a football oval, a recreation oval, which is near a school called the Tulu Primary School, I think it is. And I'm parked up right here, guys. There is a toilet block down through there. I had some friends. That are following my channel. A chap by the name of Ray, and I forget his wife's name, sorry, but saw them in town. They're just down there behind the trees. You won't see them. They're in a white motorhome thing. He's actually a recumbent trike dealer himself. He's retired, but he sells recumbents, and he's a friend of Ben's at Trisled, and they had spent the night before last at Ben's house, and I thought that was really interesting. So as I was coming back up the hill from the Waterwheel Tavern, he came down on his trike. But unfortunately I couldn't stop because I was going up this massive steep hill, right? And even though I don't have a whole lot of momentum going in the first place, it's really wise not to stop. So we had a quick banter, and I said, look, I'm sorry, I can't stop and talk because I don't want to lose this momentum. And then I got stuck for nearly 3 hours up and around trying to get out of the place. And he said that they were here at this park, and I said, yeah, I'd pegged that earlier on when I was coming through, and lo and behold, here I am. But it's interesting, guys, this whole area, Lake Tyers, is basically a massive collection of little hills, big hills. Now, this is the first football oval and cricket, there's a cricket pitch there, that I've ever seen in my life, and I've been to quite a few football ovals. This one is not flat, meaning it starts up there and then goes down. If you can see that properly, it goes down like that. Not as severe as that, but it does. And this particular little patch where I've parked up, I don't know if you can see that, but even that's on an angle. Now, as I've said to you before in previous uploads, if you park your rig sort of horizontal to an angle, so this angle's going this way, but I've parked it this way, right? So sideways is okay, you can wedge yourself into a side and still get to sleep, but it's when the angles are like this or like this and your head or feet are either at one of the other ends, is that you're not going to have a very good night's sleep because all the blood rushes to either end and you start throbbing, mate. It's like a heartbeat. Your head has its own heartbeat, your feet, every toe has its heartbeat. And after a while, I mean, I've been known to, in the pouring rain, find a spot that was on a bit of an angle and just out of sheer frustration, try and make it work and go to sleep. And then 3 hours later, having to get out in the pouring rain again and then ride in completely wet and try and find another spot and then go to bed completely wet. So you want to really try and avoid that to begin with. So talking to Trev last night about the hills and the fact that hang on, I'll spin this around. So yeah, after talking to Trevor last night, guys, and realising that the hills from here on out to Orbost, where I've googled, searched, and there's lots of storage sheds there. I am waiting for a call back today or an email back to find out if there are any pardon me, sheds still available, because that's where I'm heading. The choices around Lakes Entrance are not great. I did, on my way out of Lakes Entrance, there's a caravan park on the left that had a little fenced off area where people were storing their caravans in, and a boat or two, I think, from memory. So there's that option, but that's outdoors, which has pros and cons, because leaving this outdoors, this rig, is essentially a good thing in terms of the solar panels still charging the battery, and the parasitic drawer with all the little lights that are all hooked up to other things that, you know, of all the settings have been done. So technically you want to try and keep power to those things, really. I don't want to be coming back and resetting anything. Anyway, I digress. And then there's always the risk, and, you know, whether it'll be stolen or damaged, and, you know, who's going to be coming around putting their dirty little paws all over it, so to speak, even though it's fenced off. So, you know, it's the anxiety of thinking while I'm away that, oh, what's happening to it, you know. So I really think that it's better that it goes into storage, and I'll just disconnect the battery, and then I'll worry about resetting everything when I get back if needed. Now, I need to do some serious thinking, folks, because I don't know if you could hear me what I was saying yesterday, because it was pretty windy, and it was noisy where I was going. There were lots of cars coming past, etc. But to give you an idea of where I was psychologically, I had almost, well, I was giving serious consideration to pulling the plug on this entire trip, which would have meant me selling the rig and moving into the boat project a lot sooner, based on a couple of things. One, the danger level that I mean, even on the way here, there was 4 or 5 or 6 different occasions where cars were way too close to me, and even Ray, when he came here and I met up with him in the early evening, told me that they were actually the van that nearly knocked me off the road, guys, but through no fault of their own. He explained to me that he couldn't see me, that they were coming up around a blind spot, and I was in the shoulder and it was shaded. And so, you know, going forward from here with all these hills, serious hills, guys, and a lot of the blind spots, I'm going to have to get a strobe light and put that on there. Now, even with the strobe light, right, I know I'm digressing, but I'll just get to the point as quickly as I can. Even with a strobe light, the issue is that there are still some people that, for whatever reason, like to drive extremely close to people to teach them a lesson, folks. Can you believe it? And yes, I have done that myself as well, so it is something that I understand. Is it right or wrong? It is what it is. They're not necessarily trying to kill me or run me off the road. They just want to put the fear of death in my blood, and it works every time like a charm, people. Every time something like that happens, after you've given them the royal salute and maybe yelled out some colourful wordage, and then you settle in and you might pull over to a little rest stop on the side of the road and just say to yourself, what the bloody hell am I doing? This is absolutely crazy. So anyway, let's get back to the other reason. The other reason is that when I go into a township, I get absolutely mobbed. Now, we all know I've worked out a little method of avoiding some of that. But it still happens enough to the point where it is extremely taxing. I'm a very, very private person, and that's another reason why doing this is good for me, because it challenges some of these ridicularities, these little foibles that I have that are, you know, for protective measures that I've built up over the years to try and not be hurt by people. And it's a little prison, so, you know, I was very happy to do this. I knew a lot of this was going to happen, but you can't prepare for it. You just cannot prepare, really, for the amount of questions and the amount of people coming up to you. And as I've said before, I mean, some people don't even care that you're having dinner. They just come over and start talking to you like, you know. And other times I haven't even gotten off the bike, mate, and they just come running over and cameras are going, and, you know, some people ask for permission, some people don't. Look, I don't really care, right? You want to video the rig, go right ahead, but this poor chap the other day was first thing in the morning. It was like 6:30 a.m. or 7 a.m. and I was just drinking my coffee and he's coming over and doing all that without as much as, you know, good morning or hello, do you mind if I videotape around your rig? So things like that happen enough that you start to think to yourself, well, it ain't going to get any better in terms of people doing that. The only way I'm going to survive all that is to work out some new way of perceiving that when it happens, instead of, you know, feel your temperature boiling and either just walking away or... See, this is some of the stuff I need to think of today, and this is also the hills that are coming up as well, in and out of Lake's entrance. Like, if I go back the way I came, I've got massive hills still there, and dangerous, really dangerous. And then going forward from here, it's probably even worse than going back. But I don't want to go back because of obvious reasons. I feel like I'm going fucking backwards. I don't want that. Alright guys, I want to show you the display here, if you can see that alright or not, but it is charging now. Now, yesterday it was completely drained. There was no green there at all, and I had to pull over on the side of the road and wait for it to charge up, which was a couple of k's away from where I am now, camped out. And it was just a little bit of, on the side of the road, a little bit of a dirt thing, which you could almost call a bus stop, even though it wasn't, right? You know what I mean? It just sort of goes in a bit. So I was there, and it was flat enough that I was able to have a bit of food and have a video chat with my son, and I was probably there for about an hour. And that charged the battery up enough that I could get to this oval. But when I got here, it was completely drained again. So for, I think, 2 hours, because this is about 8 o'clock at night or something, I just put it on charge for 2 hours, which means it's just draining from the big battery in the back. And then I could feel myself just about to fall asleep, so I got up and I disconnected the module's battery from the e-bike battery for very good reason, because if I had have left it on overnight, it probably would have taken another 4 hours to finish charging the battery, and then the battery would be fully charged, right? But we've still got the booster working in there because it's got power coming to it, and that chews up power as well. So yeah, just got to keep these things in mind, that even though you may not be running something off an inverter or a solar charge controller or whatever it is your system is doing, to run an inverter, it parasitically draws just to keep the thing active, right? Now that can be anywhere from 30 watts to well over 100. Now that will deplete your battery faster than you can say lickety split. Oh yes. So you got to be very careful with it, and if there's no other sun coming in to replenish and balance out the draw, it can go pear-shaped real quick. So you've always got to be on the ball, and always check your power levels regardless of where you are. Wires come loose. This is a very bumpy bit of kit, mate, and that wire that I put in the other day, the white wire, which I thought was an earth wire, which wasn't, and it turns out it needs to be connected in with the negative wire after the booster, because it needs a minimum of 48 volts going into it, right, for it to work. And the shitty wiring job that I did, and with all the bumps, it has dislodged itself, and now I need to do a proper job, and I don't have the screwdriver I need a very long, thin Phillips head screwdriver, because at the top of this boost controller it goes down pretty deep before you get to the little screw that's down the bottom, and none of my multi-tool and everything else is just not long enough to do it. So I'm going to charge the battery up. It's probably still got at least another 2 hours to go, even though it says 48.9, because it goes into absorb. So there's 3 levels. It's bulk, absorption and float, I believe. And the absorption part and the float can take, a good 2-3 hours to just punch that last few volts in. So that's the plan. Is I'm going to fly the drone here today. And I'm just going to do some reflection and contemplation, people. Ray just came over, had a lovely chat, and he and his wife are heading to Canberra today to go and stay with their son. And that he was probably the first subscriber. I think he's a subscriber. He says he's been watching the videos, and he's good friends with Ben from Trisled. So that was the first subscriber that I'm aware of that I've met out on the road. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. All right. Can't see where they are, but there was a beautiful chorus of kookaburras doing their thing, and as soon as I pressed go, they stopped. Start again! Oi! Ah, ha, 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 ha. Oh, bugger. Alright guys, here we are. Pardon me. Here we are going to do the first flight. So I'm just watching this tutorial. I've gone through everything else in this tutorial, and now we're up to the part where he's talking about the first flight.
For your first flight. One is you want to have a full charge on your battery of your drone and also of your controller. You also want to have your phone at full charge, so there's no options for something to drop out. Now, next is you're going to want to put your propellers on correctly and make sure they're all tight. Put your drone somewhere where it can easily take off and land, and then the first thing that you want to do before you even start flying and getting those cool shots is take the drone up, let it hover for like 30 seconds, and then land it. Use the auto feature and also just use the thumb controllers. So if you push both controllers inward, it's going to turn on the drone, and then you push up on the left-hand side, it's going to take the drone off. That's how you do it manually. Auto, you go in the menu system, you click the auto button, and it's going to auto take off. Let it hover. Now do the same thing in reverse. Use the auto setting to land it. Okay, great. Now bring it back up. Now use your sticks to land it. To land your drone, all you have to do is pull down on the left-hand stick controller. It's going to land, keep holding down, and eventually shut off. So for your first time flying this drone, I really highly suggest going somewhere where you have no obstructions anywhere around.
All right, I've got that. So just turn that off. I've got an upload rendering now, and the drone is ready to go. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go do that. See what we see. Hopefully I don't balls it up. There's all the equipment on the table. So look down through there at the playground and the toilet block, and I'm just set up here, right here, and over in the middle here you'll see in a minute there's a cricket pitch, And this is a football oval, Australian rules football oval, people. And I'm going to do my first test flight right over there in auto mode. So we'll see how we go.
Do ya like the way you love? Distance from above, dignified, extra, extra light. Do ya love the way you walk, live the way you talk, justified, mysticized pieces, secrets underneath, puzzle hearts to complete. Free, yeah, take your mind to new heights, it's a car ride. Why don't you come on over? Get to know me unafraid, find a way to relate. Why don't you come on over? So you take my hand and just stay to my head. Is it hard? Is it hard to empathize? Out of the covers into another side. Rearrange and realize. Is it hard to? Is it hard? Do you like the way? Do you like the way? Do you like the way you love, 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 love? Do you like the way? Do you like the way? Do you like the way you love, 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 love? Why don't you come on over? Get to know me unafraid, find a way to relate. Why don't you come on over? Let me show you, take my hand, and just stay who I am. Why don't you come on over?